what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This is episode 102, and I'm actually really thankful that I got through that without sounding too sick or coughing at all there, Justin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're recording remote because I have been under the weather for the past several days and just thought it would be best because it's weird how now that COVID has struck us for the past couple years, how there's been a really big paradigm shift with how people view illness and sickness and stuff. And
I agree.
Dude, I was always the person that would always cliche push through and just man up and go to work whenever I wasn't feeling well. And now it's almost like a sign of disrespect when you do that. And some people interpret it, where I was talking to
some people think you're sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I was talking to my colleagues and they were urging me not only for my own well-being, but for their well-being as well. Hey, don't come back until you're asymptomatic and you feel better, just because that's perpetuating an illness and spreading it around, which seems like common courtesy. But prior to the pandemic, I never really viewed it like that,
And neither did other people. That was what I was going to say is I can distinctly remember a time where if you called off because you had the cough or a little bit of a fever or even some GI issues, people would shame you. Oh, you can't get it done. You know what I mean? And it's I don't understand that now, how everybody's so different.
Well, dude, I was guilty of that too. I would do the same thing to people. If someone called off and I would give them a hard time, oh, you're just being weak. You're fine. You can get to work, whatever. But then once you throw in, again, the pandemic and the reality of sickness being spread, people are a little bit more hesitant, especially when you don't know what you have, because the reality is in today's society that everybody has COVID, no matter what the illness is. It's just the pre-gone conclusion or the assumption that that's what you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
it's almost like everybody has this, amnesia that there is other sickness.
Yeah.
For
sure.
It's I don't feel so well. Oh, you got COVID. I'm no, I don't. I have allergy cold. I don't know. I don't think it's COVID. I can taste and smell, and I don't have any shortness of breath. I don't have any of the symptoms other than, cough, but the cough is pretty much goes along with anything that has sinus drainage. You get a cough.
Yeah. And it's
I don't know
to differentiate because a lot of the upper respiratory things are overlapping. There's a lot of symptoms that can be found from illness to illness and virus to virus. So, and then when you look at COVID, the broad spectrum of the things that are listed for potential symptoms is innumerable. So literally everything is a symptom. So at that point, you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to analyze your symptoms. Mine started, and actually I kind of told you a little bit of the brief background on how I got sick before we started the episode. And I said, well, I started telling you, I said, I'll just divulge it on the podcast. So Tuesday, I got up in the morning and went training like normal, nothing out of the ordinary. The guy who I normally train on Tuesday mornings at 4:30 canceled. So I actually just went to lift then. And it was a pull day with the focus being progressive overload on a 5x5 of some heavy rack pulls. And I was telling you, Justin, that when I've been doing rack pulls lately, been doing them just below the knee, upper to mid shin length. So not too far above where a conventional deadlift would be. And was doing a true 5x5. So all 5 sets are working sets, not there were warm-up sets, but they don't get included in the 5. So all 5 sets were very heavy. Last set, I went over 500, which had been a bit of a time frame had passed before since I've last gone that heavy, especially on rack pulls, because I haven't had rack pulls or deadlifts programmed in for months and months and months and months. Only did I start reprogramming them recently. So I haven't even been really doing any rack pulls or deadlifts often. So, working up to 500 within a couple weeks is pretty good progress for me and lets me know that neurologically I still have some strength stored away. So anyway, went heavy and then afterwards felt like crap, right? And I know that from you for your endurance sports, what it's like when you push the envelope a little bit too far. And
Yes.
I just felt absolutely miserable. Like I got to school afterwards and felt sick, felt shaky, just a lot of signs of like just like neurological overload. Like my nervous system was just shot. Probably didn't have the greatest sleep. My sleep was I guess adequate by my standards, but just thought, you know what?
I,
I probably just overdid it.
I think it's important to put into context that you are somebody who really is in tune with their nervous system and with your training and like your how your diet and everything is geared towards progress. So like
Yeah.
your mindset is so geared to progress that you knew that you were able to look at that and see those issues and not jump right to sickness.
Well, and then what happened was at school, once I got, further proof of that. So I'm at school, and during my plan period, which is where my kids go to their special classes, like when they go to art or PE or technology or whatever, I took a nap. And then likewise during lunch, instead of eating my lunch, I just put my head on my table and took a nap because I was exhausted. So again, just looked all signs pointing to just like some neurological overload, so to speak, or lack of a better phrase. So I said pretty much what you alluded to. Like I'm really into with my body. I know that I need a day off or two because, tissue can recover pretty quickly, but when your nervous system just gets upregulated to the point where it like kind of overdoes it, it's really, really hard to like reset everything, so to speak. And the only way you're going to do that is proper nutrition, proper hydration, lots of sleep, and adequate, appropriate rest and recovery. So I said, after when I got home from the gym on Tuesday night after working and training clients, I had a really bad headache. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be proactive about this and take tomorrow off. So I took off, still thinking it was just strictly neurological based. So Wednesday morning, then when I woke up, felt even worse. Felt like a little bit feverish. Had my temperature checked. It was 100.3. So I did have a fever. Was starting to get body aches and some chills and a bunch of different symptoms. The main one, I don't want to say the most concerning, like it was alarming or anything, but the most annoying one was definitely the sinuses, where I was very stuffy. And I don't know if our listeners can tell, but I'm very nasally and stuffed up right now. I can't even breathe through my nose. So I told myself, well, I got the day off, right? So I need to try to get ahead of this illness and try to get well. So what I did was I scheduled a cryotherapy session because my joints and everything, I just had really bad body aches. So I went to get some cryotherapy done. After the cryotherapy, I went and got an IV with a glutathione injection into the IV as well. So I got a ton of vitamins, ton of minerals, and antioxidant support there. Flash forward to Thursday still felt crappy. Friday felt crappy. And then today, Saturday, feel crappy. But I've been getting better every week or every day. Now, I can't say that it could be that that's just the natural path of whatever I have. I can tell you that I've also had like a prescription written for me by a doctor, just in case. And then I have been getting adjusted by my chiropractor. Like I said, I already had like an IV therapy. So I'm getting out ahead of this as much as I can and trying to be proactive about it. And I do feel better every day. I just had like an annoying cough and my temperature stabilized, but the sinuses, dude, are just driving me absolutely insane. And then, of course, you put into the social aspect, like we talked about earlier, where, whenever I feel comfortable to go back to work, I don't want people to look down on me or try to avoid me because they think that I could still be contagious from whatever I have. There's like this whole like societal, almost like the societal element to being sick now, whereas before it's just get better and go back. Now I don't think it's that simple for people,
Right. It's almost like people are like, I want to see your negative COVID test.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
people have been asking me if I
and
have
like
COVID, and I said I don't know. I haven't been tested.
to be honest, I'm guilty of asking you that too, but it wasn't the same question. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Like I just don't understand like where at what point did we forget that everybody has their own like privacy?
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I like I said, I kind of went through the same stuff about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. If you remember, I was really run down and had the sinuses and the aches and not a fever. I didn't have a fever or nothing, but I have had sinus drainage and like mine was like almost a really bad allergy cold.
Yeah, that's what mine feels like. Aside from the brief stint with the temperature, the fever, because it was elevated. Like I said, the day I took off, it was 100.3, and then later that night it got to 100.1, and then it was under 100 the rest of the days. Like now, it's not even elevated at all. It's back to normal. I think
that's like, not.
No, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. I was thinking because I remember reading recently that the COVID temperature is 100.4. They don't consider it COVID unless it's 100.4. You correct me if I'm wrong. I might have read that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what they say.
To be fair, I'm not that well versed on the literature to know one or the other. Like I said, the crazy part just now is that with everything, your primary concern for most people now when they're sick isn't the wellness and getting themselves better. Suddenly there's a paradigm shift where everybody's so hyper focused on not getting other people sick, and I want to go both avenues with that. Like I obviously want to get back to work, but I also want to be respectful of other people and their situation and kind of let them know what's going on. Like, hey, I've been sick. Not sure what it is. I feel okay. I'm on my way to getting better. Just wanted you guys to know, the situation in case you want to cancel training, because I had a lot of people actually this week that I told that, and they wanted to continue training. Now, that one actually had to be put back on me because I was actually too sick a couple of the days where I couldn't go in. I said, I would not be an effective trainer going in there. So there's that. But it was pretty cool and reassuring to know that people weren't too concerned about it. And they're like, oh, well, as long as you're feeling okay enough to train, we'll be there or whatever. So I'm on the mend, and the tentative plan is that I will be back on Monday. That's the goal. I'm going to cancel my morning group tomorrow morning and take one more day just to relax. Based on how I feel now, excuse me, I feel like I should be able to be ready to roll in the morning tomorrow, but again, would just rather play it safe, take one more day. I'm probably, just for moral and ethical reasons, I don't think it's necessary, but I think that I'm probably going to go get doctor clearance first and say, hey, can you just allow me to go back to school so that way everything's good to go in case I get questioned or anybody gets upset about it. At least I went through a physician to monitor this and say that everything's good to go. But I'll tell you what, man, I definitely realized that, and you never, like, there's not a direct correlation between how healthy, I mean, there is, but it's not perfect, between how healthy you eat and whether you get sick or not. I mean, it's a very, 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 very good correlation, but it's never perfect. And that just made me realize that there's areas of my health that I can improve on. I can better prepare my immune function. And to be fair, I hadn't been sick for a while, but my diet had been slipping and I'd been eating a little bit of junk food a little bit more frequently than I normally would have. And then whether it's correlation, causation, or just random circumstance, I ended up getting sick. And now it's like, well, shoot, maybe I shouldn't have eaten all that crap.
Right. Yeah. And every time that I get sick, it seems like is when my diet is not on par. So I think there is a direct correlation between that.
For sure, man. So, hey,
I really do.
I'm sorry. Let's go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some more updates on your end, because to this point, all we've done is talk about my illnesses, which mentally I'm completely over at this point. I'm rearing to go and get back at it. So let's go to a quick commercial break and we'll do some more updates on your end when we come back. As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram, and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well. And we are back from our commercial break. All right, Justin. So prior to the break, I basically stole the show by complaining about my illness for the past 15 minutes. And we do want to let our listeners know that you and I are conscientiously making this episode a little bit shorter because, to be honest, I am normally pretty long-winded, but I do not feel like talking a whole lot. This is the most I've talked in several days because couldn't even talk on the phone at some points because I was coughing and I had tons of mucus and stuff. But want to give the opportunity for you to talk about some updates on your end because we have some really important stuff that I don't think we talked too much about.
Yes, absolutely. Um, it's been an awesome week. I actually started a new job this week and had a lot of learning to do, and still do. I think I'll be growing and learning and growing into this job for months to come. But it's a good time, and I'm really enjoying it. It's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. So it's cool to have the opportunity to help people do their job and to do it in a safe manner. So
Yeah.
it's been fun. But in the gym, everything is just going and basically firing on all cylinders, man. It's been really fun. Um, I've been doing a lot of training solo. I haven't had a partner all week, which is, kind of sucks, but it's been fun at the same time, just kind of go at my own pace, which is not what most people, when they say they want to go at their own pace, it's because they want to slow down and be a little more methodical about it. And I'm the opposite. Usually
Yes.
I hammer down, and what I would normally do in an hour, I get done in 35, 40 minutes. So that's been allowing for more time on my newest piece of gym equipment, which is my treadmill.
Yep.
And I think so in year, I think we can officially say in years past, right? Because we've been doing this for almost 2 years now. So in years past, I have said numerous times how I don't like to do any of my cardio on a treadmill, right?
Yep.
I still hate it. But I'm using a treadmill every day because it's something I don't like to do. And I thought about it and I was like, why don't we get used to doing the things that make us uncomfortable again? And that's something that I've never really been comfortable doing. So I've been making myself do 15 to 30 minutes every workout on the treadmill to get warmed up and get going. Where
So
normally I
obviously
would
you're
just go for a
doing a
walk.
pre-workout then?
Yes. Yep. I've been trying to do all my cardio pre-workout because I like the cardio aspect in the beginning. It gets the sweat rolling, it gets the heart rate elevated, and I feel like it's like a good stretch just to get everything kind of moving and rocking and rolling, ready to go.
Yeah, I think that you can't
But
understate the importance of getting the body moving, so to speak. Just in the foundational sense, like when I have athletes that I work with, when they get to me, a lot of them haven't been doing anything all day, especially if it's after school or first thing in the morning. They've either been lying in bed for 8 hours or sitting at a desk for 8 hours. So one of the things we start with is we always start with our movement first. So we do a little bit of a warm up, and then we do dynamic work, and then we do our mobility, and then we do our movement drills, and then we do our strength training after. And I find that I get the best results out of the kids and they feel the best. And I've always enjoyed that the most, is doing my strength training after my movement training. Like just thinking back on recent memory, I think the most I've squatted in probably a year or two came directly after I ran a 5K. So I ran a 5K on the 4th of July and immediately went to the squat rack and squatted after a 3.1 mile run, heavier than I had squatted in probably a year or two. So, and that's just one isolated incident, but I normally feel a lot better if I move and get warm first versus just going into my strength training, even if I do mobility. I feel like for me, mobility is not enough. I need like literal warmth in that sense too.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I've been leaving the treadmill on while I'm working out, and not every workout, but like on my leg day, especially because a lot of times I have issues where when I get to the end of my workout in between sets, I start to not cramp, but just feel like crap.
Yep.
Overall. So in between sets, I'll get on the treadmill and just walk for my cool down, like slow 1.5, 2.5 miles an hour for a minute, and then jump right back into my set. So I've been using that a lot, and I like it. I really do. I enjoy the treadmill as much as I don't like it. I enjoy using it because it keeps me all in the same space. And going outside and getting a sweat rolling takes longer, farther, more effort. And that's a big thing for me is I want to get a sweat going right now.
Yes.
Like as fast as I can make myself start sweating in the gym, the more my mind tells me I'm doing something right.
Yeah, and I think that people need to understand that, because you and I have talked about it before, but I think it's important to clarify is if you have weight loss goals or fat loss goals, the environment being warm isn't necessarily any more conducive to them. We just do it because of psychological benefit and preference. So
Right.
like I just want to make sure that people understand, even though you're trying to lose body fat and continue to set performance markers, you're not using the heat and the sweat to lose weight. That's not the purpose. You just feel like you have your best workouts when you're sweating a lot. Likewise with myself.
Right. And that's, and I think that's funny because people do talk about like, and I hear this a lot with wrestlers, especially when I was wrestling, just go sit in the sauna. You'll get that last little bit off. And everybody thinks you're losing body weight and you're just losing that water. You're losing your hydration.
Yes.
Is all you're losing. But with me and with my diet, how you have my diet structured, the amount of water I have in my diet, I don't think I could possibly become dehydrated.
Yes.
Like, I literally don't think it's possible.
The only little nuance there for someone that I would add, and I know that you know this, but I'll just throw it out for the listeners too, is there are certain instances where dehydration could be an issue despite water intake, and that would be improper electrolyte imbalance or balance.
Right.
So if you're not taking in enough sodium or potassium or magnesium or different electrolytes, then you could potentially be running the risk of dehydrating yourself at the cellular level, because the long and short of it is you need electrolytes to shuttle water into the cell where true hydration occurs. Just taking in water isn't enough, but that's not an issue for you because we monitor too. So
yeah, but I did have a minor setback on the deadlifts this week. Although my form looks about as good as it's ever looked, I think, looking back at the videos, because I did that this week, because I had a small injury that I don't think came from deadlifting. I don't know exactly where it came from. I honestly think I might have slept plenty, and it was just a cramp, like a muscle cramp that I just took 3 or 4 days to get over. But I showed my chiropractor the video of my deadlifts, and she suggested that I take a couple months away from heavy deadlifting, not take it out, but just take a few months away from heavy deadlifting because of a lot of people don't know about it, but like the bar path, how you should drag the bar up your shins, up over your knees, and all the way up your quads.
Yep.
To keep your body and your spine neutral. And because of my stomach, the size of my stomach still is, I can't, it's a physical thing. I physically can't drag it up my shins because I can't get over top of the bar appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And that, but other people just, it's hard to explain why. Anyway, so talking to you, we've decided to leave deadlifts in, but change the bar basically. So move to a trap bar, which moves the hand position, and I'll get a little more leg work out of it because of the hand position and just the movement pattern itself, but it's still going to overall train the back. And that's just an audible, basically a different road on the roadmap that we talked about months ago. And it's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. And when you change little nuance like that, the overreaching theme is the same. You're still working a knee flexion and hip hinge movement. It's just when you do a deadlift, it's more of a hinge than it is a squat, obviously, because you have a lot more hip hinge than you do knee flexion. But when you do a trap bar, it's the opposite. It's a little bit deeper in the knee flex position, So you get a little bit more leg drive versus lower back, but you're still obviously working all the body parts with a traditional deadlift. You're still getting them with the trap bar deadlift as well. And just from a leverage and mechanics standpoint, based on your body type, it would just make sense to do a trap bar. So changing it up there. And that's just like intelligent programming. That's like when I create programs for people, this is something we always talk about is I always talk about like the exercises matter, but the specific exercise does not. So think about movement patterns that matter. So I'll even let my athletes choose like from day to day, like, hey, we're going to do an overhead press variation. It's got to be free weight, so barbell or dumbbell or kettlebell, but let me know what type of overhead press do you want to do? Do you want to do a standing military press with a bar? We could do some type of standing pin press variation. We could do any type of dumbbell press, single arm, bilateral, kneeling, standing, seated, alternating. We could do kettlebell presses. We could really do any type of overhead exercise you want because you think of it as like a movement pattern. So then once you establish the movement patterns, you need to cover like some type of vertical press, some type of horizontal press, some type of vertical pull, horizontal pull, some type of hinge, and some type of squat. Okay, so those are all our movement patterns that we want to fit in over the course of a week. What exercises do you like best that fit those ideas? So as long as you're still doing it, the movement pattern to some degree, you're good.
I think it's important to back up to what you just said there. You said all those movements, right? All those different things that we have to do to make our bodies progress in the way we want them to progress over the course of a week, and then even more, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of that, you said, what are the movements you like to do? Because nobody wants to go and work, like, because it's a workout. Like, so it's got that word work into it. Nobody wants to go and work out day after day after day after day, doing things that they hate doing. There's going to be things that you don't like, but it's important to pick the movements that you like, as long as they're going to elicit the response from your body that makes sense. Pick something you like to do.
Well, yeah, because you're going to be consistent with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you hate doing conventional deadlifts with a straight bar, figure something else out that you enjoy doing. If it's dumbbells or if it's rack pulls, maybe. I know that's not going to give you the exact response, but figure something else out that is going to give you something that you like to do. Because if you like to do it, you're more apt to do it. Because I was reading, I can't remember where I read it at, but it was more of a listen, read, watch kind of thing. It was, I cannot remember who posted it. It might have been Jocko. And he was talking about, oh, your schedule got messed up 4 or 5 hours later. Your day is 4 or 5 hours later. So now your workout is not where it usually is. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go work out. Like, I'm going to go get it in. So my theory on that is I am going to go get it in because I enjoy that. Like, if I hated doing that and then somebody threw a 4 or 5 hour wrench into my plan, it's going to be super easy for me to say, my day was messed up already. I'll just get after it tomorrow.
Well, it would be a good scenario or good setup or framework if you were somehow able to set up your training. So number one, it's goal oriented, because you got to have the caveat there too of understanding. And I know that everybody knows this, but it's just worth mentioning. You have to understand that you can't just go in and do whatever you want all the time, because you're probably going to do the things that are easiest for you, which isn't going to give you much progression long term. So you have to have a goal oriented program. But think about if you could frame your program and structure it so much that whenever you go to the gym, you find excuses to get there and not excuses to get away.
Right.
Like, exactly. If you lose time, you could use that as an excuse. Like, oh, I'm running behind today, not going to be able to get to the gym. Or if you like the way your programming is developed so much and you enjoy the things that you're doing while you're there, think about how powerful of a tool that is, because then you would say, well, shoot, I got to find an excuse to go. How can I get out of doing these other things I need to do in this shorter time period, and so I can make sure that I go to the gym? And I know that there are some people that over prioritize the gym on occasion above family and above other things. But I think that if you set yourself in a program that you enjoy, you're going to make excuses to do it and not excuses to get out of it.
Right. I think that goes back to what I talk about a lot is non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Have a list of non-negotiables, but on that list should be family, work, relaxation, and the gym should all be on that list. And I don't list my non-negotiables out in my head. Like I don't have this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4. I have my list of non-negotiables and they're all equal to an extent.
Yeah.
Obviously my family comes absolutely first. But other than that, so like I guess they're all number 2. Family's first, and then everything else is number 2. Like they're of the highest importance. So, and I basically try to operate inside my non-negotiables. Like I try not to do anything that's not on that list.
Well, if
it's the most
life the correct way, you probably don't have time to do anything that's not within those parameters.
Exactly. And I guess, and from the outside looking in, it kind of sounds I don't know if it's the egotistical. No, it's not. It's not ego. It's more of selfish. It definitely sounds selfish to say I'm not doing anything that's not on my list of priorities. But if you have your priorities in the right place, well, then that's the only things you should do.
Yeah.
Prioritize and execute.
Yep.
I don't know. But upcoming, I guess for me, I have a lot of big stuff on the horizon. I'm excited for. I'm going to start running again. I think, working with you with my diet again has helped a lot. I'm starting to lose weight again. So I envision, oddly enough, starting to run here as the snow starts to fly pretty soon. That's going to be programmed back into my day. I'm going to utilize the treadmill as much as I can, but you can't get the response that the road gives you on a treadmill. So I believe, I'm not making it 100% official, but I am going to try to schedule a 5K in November and in December.
Cool.
To cap off 21. I'd like to have a couple 5Ks in addition to the first one I did this year on the 4th of July, and some big stuff in the works for 22 and 23. So I'm excited. I hope everybody wants to come along for the ride and listen, and hopefully whatever we do with our lives helps somebody else want to do something that they don't normally do.
Yeah. I don't think you could ask for much more than that.
And that's it. That's where I'm at. Like I try to do things every day that motivates somebody else to do something, because like making decisions to do things that are uncomfortable are hard. But when you have a list of people that listen to you or talk to you every day and like want to know what you're doing, it's like empowering, because it's like, oh man, I have 5,000 people that listen to my podcast a month, or however many we're up to. I have to show up and show out, and I love it. I enjoy that.
Well, I think that if that can't serve as motivation for you, then really nothing can.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good place to end it, brother.
I agree.
Possibly interview next week.
Yeah, that's the plan. I think if everything goes as planned, we should be set up. I think everybody will be excited to hear this guest again. I said again. So I think everybody will be excited to hear this person talk again. Yeah, big stuff.
All right, man. So with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This has been episode 102. As always, we appreciate your guys' listenership, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge and take it all. I'm born to be untamable.